Yes, good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. We're here to look ahead to tomorrow's trip to Pittodrie against Aberdeen. We come into it off the back of that 4-2 victory against Ross County last Saturday. No doubt that we will have better performances this season, but we did score 4 good goals. And looking back at the game, watching the highlights, we could have had a few more as well. So despite the fact that we had that nervy start defensively, we still got the job done. I'd like to see us tighten up, and there's no doubt we will get better with more and more games. I think that can tend to happen in the first game of the season, but this will be a stern test for us tomorrow, and we'll have to perform to a high level to get the job done. Aberdeen come into the game off the back of a 0-0 draw at Almonvale against Livingston last week. I think, given the signings they've made, how they finished last season, I think the Aberdeen support would have been looking to win that last weekend. Livingston obviously did a good job of stifling them. There wasn't too much in the way of chances in the game. It was a pretty drab 0-0. So it's not a great start for Aberdeen. But as I say, it's always a stern test going there. And we have got a good record. I'd expect the team to take confidence for that. Rodgers last time, I know the players are totally different, so it doesn't really hold much. But Rodgers' record at Pittodrie is good. And even the record that this group of players has is very good as well. But we know it's always a tough game. And as I say, we'll need to perform, I think, to a higher level than we did last week, certainly defensively, if we're to get the 3 points that we're looking for. Before we look at the team, there's obviously been some movement in the transfer window this week. We have lost Carol Starfelt officially to Celta Vigo. I think it seems like an abrupt exit. He was only here for 2 years, and we know there's personal circumstances and reasons, or we think there's personal circumstances and reasons as to why he wanted to move on at this juncture. But he is going to a La Liga side, and that represents a chance for Mike Nawrocki to take his place. Obviously, he started last Saturday, and that was when Brendan Rodgers really confirmed that Starfelt would be leaving the club. So Nawrocki is clearly Starfelt's replacement, but it is a big loss for us. We lost Jota early in the window, and we've lost Carol Starfelt now. I really don't want us to lose another key player between now and the end of the window. I think it's really key for us to hold on to everybody else now, and I think we've got a lot more work to do in terms of incoming transfers as well. The club have got to go and get a couple of quality players and really lift the levels in the squad. This is something Kenny talked about in good detail in the post-match pint last week. I think we all feel like we're just missing something in terms of the inward recruitment this summer. And I think we know the Champions League is such a high bar, and Brendan Rodgers alluded to that, and some people weren't happy really with the tone of his comments this week. But the Champions League is a high bar for Celtic. There's no getting away from that. It's difficult for us to really judge ourselves against most of the teams we'll come up against in the Champions League. But I still feel like we're all looking for maybe 1 or 2 signings that can just make everybody sit up and take notice. That's the players in the dressing room, but that's also the supporters as well, to know that we mean business, and to really go and improve the starting 11, because we know we've got a good team. We were excellent domestically last season, but we've now lost a key centre half and a vital creative player in Jota. So I think the club have got work to do in terms of inward bound transfers. And as I say, after losing Starfelt, we can't lose another one. We can't lose a Hatate. We can't lose an Abada, because this late in the window, it would be difficult, very, very difficult for the club to replace them and for them to settle in time with the big games we've got coming up. Ibrox at the end of the month, the Champions League starting soon after that. We've got to get the business right in this last couple of weeks. There's no doubt about that. So we'll get to the team then. We'll start in goals, as we always do, and it will be Joe Hart. Obviously, the sort of speculation continues about whether we'll be looking at goalkeeper in these next couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to materialise, I need to be honest. I don't think there's enough rumours, enough news linking the club with goalkeepers, and Brendan Rodgers answered a question on all 3 goalkeepers last week as well. I think it's clear we're going to go forward with the 3 goalkeepers that we've got. There was a nervy moment or 2 last week when the ball went back to Joe Hart. He wasn't helped at times with pass backs to him from Ralston, even from Callum McGregor late on in the first half. But there is that nervousness there. There's always anxiety when the ball goes back to Joe Hart, and I think that's going to happen time and time again because of the way the team plays. And as I said before, I would argue that Rodgers puts even more emphasis on the goalkeeper playing with his feet than Postecoglou did. So that might rear its head again as we move through the season. And I don't think that the section of the support that think we need to improve in that area are going to change their minds, because Joe Hart's been brilliant for us, but he is at that stage of his career where I don't think he's going to go up another level. And I think if we want to take that area to the next level, then we have to think about his replacement. But I don't expect it to be in this transfer window. The one position I got wrong last week, I got 10 from 11. I went with Iwata at right back. It was Ralston. I expect it to be Tony Ralston again tomorrow. Carter Vickers and Mike Nawrocki will be the centre-half pairing. And just to conclude on Starfelt's exit, 48 league games started with Carol Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers together, 0 defeats. That is a high bar for a defensive pairing, for a centre-back partnership. So that's the bar that Nawrocki has to try and reach. He's got to get to know Carter-Vickers. They've got to bond as a centre-back pairing, and try and have that same solidity we had domestically when Starfelt was there, because that was a big pillar of the success we had. To have that confidence in the back line. I think the centre-half pairing is so important. You want that stability there. You want that level of consistency. That is what wins you titles. Despite all the attacking flair we've got going forward, those two have been vital, and now we've lost one of them. So Nawrocki's got to step up. He looks a good player. He looks confident on the ball. That's the one thing with Starfelt that was always a question mark over him. Nawrocki looks like he's got that. He's got a lot of potential. He's a young player. But as I say, he's going to learn quickly that's the standard that he has to meet. Left back, it'll be Greg Taylor. In midfield, it's the big question for Brendan Rodgers. Does he go with Reo Hatate, or does he keep David Turnbull in the starting 11? Man of the match performance from David Turnbull last week. Reo Hatate on the bench. It's a big call. In a game like Aberdeen away, it's a different proposition than Ross County at home. So I think this will tell us where he's at with Hatate. And again, I'm looking at Brighton losing Caicedo. They've lost McAllister as well. Could they be looking at someone like Reo Hatate? And there's always that question mark with Spurs as well, although I don't think that is going to materialise before the end of the window. But as I say, we don't want to lose Hatate, and we don't want him to get disillusioned if he does start a few games on the bench before the window closes. So it's going to be Callum McGregor in that deeper position. I know we didn't really play strictly like that. I thought Turnbull was much more advanced in like a 10 role, and McGregor and O'Reilly were playing similarly last week. I think O'Reilly will obviously play, and I'm going to go with David Turnbull. I don't think Brendan Rodgers will drop him after that performance last weekend. So that might mean the speculation continues on Hatate and where he stands with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers did comment this week that he's trained excellently, and that Brendan Rodgers has told Reo Hatate what he wants from him in his system. I don't know how much to read into that, to be honest with you. I think Hatate does take risks. He often takes risks on the ball. We've seen most recently in that friendly against Bilbao, he played a really risky pass across the face of his own box, and it lost a goal. We lost a goal from it, so that might be the kind of thing that Brendan Rodgers just wants to iron out of him. Although I think it's important to have your midfielders taking risks and trying to make things happen, but I think Rodgers might just want him to be a wee bit more secure in possession, given that we know how Rodgers likes the build-up to be. Interesting to see how that one plays out. And the front three, I think, will be unchanged. Abada on the right-hand side, Dyson-Maeda on the left. By the way, just on Dyson-Maeda, about 3 or 4 people commented last week saying, no, he's suspended. He can't play, and you had me doubting it, but he served his suspension before last season finished. I think the BBC also wrongly reported that he might have been suspended last weekend, but he wasn't. Kyogo Furuhashi will play through the middle. Brilliant to see him on the score sheet last weekend, but even more encouraging for me, and I think for a lot of people watching, he was coming deep, he was linking up the play. Something very different to what he did under Postecoglou. He was very much on the shoulder, he was very much the spearhead of the attack, and he'll continue to be that, but I think it's clear he's got a slightly different instruction under Brendan Rodgers to come deep and link the play. And to be honest, I think we saw that can be a strength for him as well. He had a brilliant assist for Matt O'Reilly where he's on the shoulder of the centre-half for a second, and then he drops off into the space and flicks a first-time pass round the corner for O'Reilly's goal. That's something we didn't see from him. And I think if you asked most people last season and the 2 seasons that we've watched Kyogo Furuhashi, they would say he doesn't get involved a lot. His strength is being on the end of crosses, cutbacks, scoring goals. His finishing's excellent. But I think he has this ability as well. I think he's a wonderful footballer. There were some great touches last week. He should have had another assist in the first half because he nutmegged a defender to slide in, David Turnbull, who should have scored. He was involved in Turnbull's second goal where he plays the 1-2 with Matt O'Reilly, who digs out a great cross to the back post for Turnbull. He was brilliant in terms of his link-up play, Kyogo. That's something we haven't seen from him, but it's definitely something that he's got in his locker, and I look forward to watching it as the season progresses. So there you go, that's 11 I think Brendan Rodgers will go with. I got 10 from 11 last weekend. How many will I get tomorrow? You can let me know in the comments below. Like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe. We're getting ever closer to 39 and onwards to 40 as well. We will see you in Aberdeen at Pittodrie tomorrow with all the full-time reaction. Wherever you're watching the game, enjoy it. Thank you.